King Charles III is arguably the best prepared monarch in the world, serving an apprenticeship of over 70 years before he obtained the only job he ever applied for and for which he was the only applicant. But his workload before and since has been stupendous. He never stops. Nobody could ever accuse him of being lazy. As a single Prince of Wales, Charles was regarded as the most eligible and famous bachelor in the world. And when he married Lady Diana Spencer in July 1981, making her the Princess of Wales, she became the most famous woman on the planet. But as we now know, it wasn't to last. Charles never stopped talking or thinking about Camilla Parker Bowles and his friendship with her, even when at last he married Diana. She accepted this, knowing that to object would place her at odds with the royal household, as well as against the most powerful family in the world. On the day the couple married, they became the most photographed couple ever. However, there were problems almost from the beginning. And contrary to the general belief, it wasn't all Charles' fault. There was trouble on both sides. 5 years after they married, Diana resumed a relationship with a former boyfriend, James Hewitt, in 1986. If there has ever been a year that Charles would describe as the worst in his life, it could well be 1992. His birthday that year was not a time for celebration. This was when he and Diana finally separated. Perhaps relief was all he felt now that at last it was all over. He said at the time that his relationship with Mrs. Parker Bowles was non-negotiable. She had been in the public eye for many years, but usually as a private individual. Now it was to become royal responsibility. As with all people in the line of succession to the throne, as lineal descendants of George II, before he could propose to Camilla, Charles had to obtain the formal permission of the Queen, a requirement under the Royal Marriages Act of 1772, which states that those in that category must obtain the permission of the sovereign in order to marry. In Charles' case, even if the sovereign happened to be his mother. Much later, Charles admitted that the love of his life had always been Camilla. It would never end. It never will. To many people throughout the world, it remains one of the greatest love stories ever. The spring wedding went ahead as planned, even though the day had to be postponed in order that Charles could attend the funeral of Pope John Paul II in Rome. An indication to Camilla of what lay in for her as royal duties take the place of everything else. On the day of the wedding, Camilla became Her Royal Highness and Duchess of Cornwall, and in Scotland she used the title of Duchess of Rothesay. Now, of course, since Charles became monarch, she is Her Majesty the Queen. Charles and Camilla were married in a civil ceremony at Windsor Guildhall, not attended by the Queen, who considered it to be inappropriate as she was head of the Church of England, and they were both divorced.